Hey.
Hey, my friend.
What's up?
What is up?
Welcome to another week of Case Files with Kat
And Ashley.
And sorry for the loss of your sweet doggy.
It's always something in my life.
Well, if it wasn't your life, it was mine. So can we just have like a moratorium on deaths in our world?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay, then I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay.
Well, no more.
You gotta keep your cat off the table because every time he jumps up here, I'm afraid he's gonna die on that candle.
It
really freaked me out earlier when we were having our technical difficulties.
Has zero fear. The cat.
Okay, well, I have all the fear for him because I thought he was gonna light himself on fire.
I think he did a little bit. I think I started to smell some like hair.
And he's just living his best life. Like there's nothing wrong.
Best life. The best of it.
Anyways.
So how was your? Okay, no, I'm not going to ask you that.
Oh, what?
But
No.
well, it's been shitty because you. I'm going to ask you, how's your week been?
This week has been great. Just living the high life, working like 16-hour days. It's the funnest. Love it.
Hey, everybody, own your own business. There's your.
It's a trap. Don't do it. I had to file my taxes yesterday and my shit got rejected like 3 times.
Jason said we did too, and he was trying to file, and so he ended up having to, get my signature and the whole thing. So I don't know. It's probably going to be late. So fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care anymore. All right.
So you have to go back to work today. So you do not.
I am not drinking currently, but when I do start drinking, it's going to be liquor. I love Kraken. It's a spiced rum. And they have these limited edition bottles per state. So, like, when I was in North Carolina, I had the North Carolina one. I was like, oh, I wonder if they have Texas. And so I got a Texas one. And so that's what I will be drinking this evening.
Okay.
Lots of it.
Lots of
we're just skipping the beer and going to liquor.
I love it.
But you have the fanciest of cans over there.
It's totally not fancy, but it's very artistic. It's lots of, I think it's the making of beer because there's some.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I know there's some hops in there. Anyway, it's Hop Sprocket. A hazy IPA. This is from Real Ale Brewing Company, which is out of Blanco, Texas. So that's good. I got to speak some Spanish, which goes along with my story today. Perfection. I just have given up on the questions of the week because I'm just not.
I wasn't going to ask you because I was afraid of you were like going to kill me if I asked you about it.
So no, I'm just going to own my inability to come up with questions.
We've lost question of the week. We lost the Sarah segment. We lost our intro music. We're just
we're winning at all things right now.
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to do a story that I had hinted at the previous episode, but I'm still researching. It's taking me a bit to get through the book, but it's such a good book. But anyway, tonight I am going to be discussing someone that I sort of came across by accident.
Okay.
Came totally by accident. I'm fascinated by serial killers. Everybody,
yes.
you at home, dear listeners, also know that I'm fascinated by serial killers and cults, but serial killers really. And the United States seems to be number 1 in the department of serial killers, right?
Yes.
We are number 1.
Woo!
USA. USA. I like to win. Okay. Anyway, but tonight I'm going to tell you about Mexico's first serial killer who allegedly killed somewhere between 42 and 49. The numbers are kind of fuzzy. Little old ladies between the years of 1998 and 2006.
Oh, okay.
Again,
that's a long time.
Fuzzy on those numbers. We're just going to keep saying that probably all night. And you may be saying to yourself, Kat, what? Mexico didn't have any serial killers before this person was caught? How is this possible? Because that's kind of, recent. And that would be a great question. I would say, Ashley, that is a great
Yes,
question. I'm so glad.
I'm so glad I asked that question.
You're so smart. Oh, you're so inquisitive.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, I love it.
I was so fascinated already. Sorry, my bad. Go on. What is the answer to that question that I asked?
Yes, because you'd be right, because they did in fact have serial killers. But even the author of the book on my subject tonight, called The Little Old Lady Killer, Susana Vargas Cervantes, noted in an interview that when she was growing up in Mexico City, she never knew Mexico had any serial killers. That was not a term ever used for anybody in her memory. It was truly an American and an English thing. The police said it, officials said it. It's an American thing. That's where they come from. America and England.
Oh, okay.
That's where all the serial killers are, right? And so she was interested. Why is that? Why do these countries seem to, they've got the corner on the market of serial killers? How is this possible? And then she discovered in her research this story. And so she started to dig a bit deeper. And what I will say is that her telling of it really comes at it like from so many different levels. And so I'll be bringing her up a lot throughout the telling of the story. But let me just guess that, like, at this point, everyone's thinking immediately, like, but what about the Mexican cartels, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously.
That was going to be my next question.
Well, those killings are not considered. They are not
gang.
They are not considered to be serial killings because there was a reason for them.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. Good to know that's the definition.
However flimsy a case that may be, serial killers, as authorities have said, is more of an American thing, killing for killing's sake. Okay. No reason, just being a psycho or a sociopath. That's it.
Got it.
And I mean, how famous are all of our serial killers versus other countries?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've made movies and TV shows and that's it. We are fascinated by them. Women still married those people after it was all said and done, right? I mean, the shows, the movies that Netflix has created alone, hell, look at our podcast.
Yeah.
Hello. There's a whole industry. Shame on us. Anyway, cartels, on the other hand, killed for business reasons, out of revenge, out of duty, loyalty, or because you got in the way of a drug deal. Very valid reasons is what I'm saying.
Got it.
All right. I should be a lawyer.
You should be. For sure.
I mean,
if those are the fucking requirements to not be a serial killer, then
I would win all cases.
Yeah.
But they had a reason. You took their corner. Right. Anyway, in the years that Mexico's first serial killer was active, the police refused to say that there was actually a serial killer at work in Mexico City. In fact, 42 to 48, again, the fuzzy numbers, little old ladies, and you'll see that no numbers have been proven correct, so that's why they're a little fuzzy, but are all from working class or lower class neighborhoods in Mexico City. So all of these 42 to 48 women died before an investigative team formed specifically for these crimes. And it wasn't until one of them, and this would have been 49 or so, it wasn't until her death, and she was Mexico City's criminologist's mother, who lived in an upper middle class neighborhood, was killed. Did the police snap into action? I mean, you can read a lot into that, I guess. It affected one of their own. I don't know. It's like, holy shit, the killer's affecting rich people. We better get on this. Like, oh no, they're changing their MO. We gotta catch this killer, right? So that at that point, the police department they had already formed previously their very first in Mexican history serial killer investigation team.
Okay.
The first ever in Mexican history. That's insane.
That is crazy.
Insane. So let me explain a little bit here and so sort of put that into perspective. So around this time, 4,370 Mexicans were killed in and around Mexico City from 1993 to 2004. That's a lot.
But there were reasons.
They weren't serial killings, according to officials.
Got it.
That's a lot. Okay. In fact, it was estimated that 460 women were murdered in the Mexican border city of Ciudad Juarez. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have not.
It is, I mean, just boop, hop, skip, and a jump on the other side of El Paso, right? That was happening at the exact same time period that these killings were happening. 460 women to the serial killer in Mexico City. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
The cases were the deaths of high school and college students, store clerks and housewives, as well as the poor single women drawn to Juarez from all over Mexico to work in the assembly plants and the factories. Well, these women just began vanishing from the streets, often in daylight, which is terrifying, on their way home from work or to visit friends or to go to job interviews. These were dark-skinned, very young women who were generally raped before being strangled and then dumped in and around Ciudad Juarez. 76 of them, in fact, were found this way, some in mass graves.
But there weren't serial killers.
They were not serial killers. Not going to claim that.
Okay, got it.
Ah, la, 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 la. I see no evil, hear no evil. I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, there's a great documentary that I watched years ago called Señorita Extraviada, a missing young woman, that was aired on PBS some years ago. So yeah, obviously this was the work of serial killer or killers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put all 460 of them on the same person, but they were found in mass graves. So, I mean, it was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. And so these were poor, dark-skinned, young women. So, like I said, it went up to 460 and there was no outcry. There was no media sensationalizing these deaths. They were not making a big deal out of them at all. In fact, the authorities blamed these women and painted them in the bad light, saying, well, they were in a dangerous part of town, or didn't they have family that were involved in gangs or drugs or whatever? But this wasn't true. I mean, these were women who were going to work, school, job interviews. But they just let it keep going on. So like the value of these women was just so low. And in 2020, Mexico's fourth largest city retained its nickname as the capital of murdered women. So Ciudad Juarez. Don't go there. I'm just saying. Don't go there. Also around this time, there was a serial killer at work in Mexico City. His name was, I'm not going to pronounce it. Raul Ociel Marroquin Reyes. He was born in 1980. Also known as El Matagays. Guess who he killed?
I don't know.
Also means the killer of gays.
Well, I don't know that.
Or he was also known as El Sádico, or the sadist. So this guy was...
I'm just going to say the serial name killers in Mexico are way cooler than
way
ours.
Cooler.
They sound way cooler.
It's like the killer of gays. El Matagays.
Yeah.
But yes, it is way cooler. Anyway, so this guy, he was a Mexican kidnapper and serial killer. He had 6 kidnappings, 4 of which ended in murder in Mexico City during his 1-year spree in 2005. So this is in the same year.
Yeah.
He would ask for ransom from the families, but would kill his captives anyway. They would get the money. He would get the money and kill them anyway. He didn't care. All his victims were homosexual men he felt needed to be removed from the earth. So obviously now he's like a symbol for homophobia in Mexico. But he claimed he wasn't gay. He would just go to the gay bars and pick up gay men and then get them to his house. I don't know. I don't know any straight men who could like pull that off without any, I don't know. It's weird. And then he would like torture them. Like he would get them naked and tie them up and like, why? Like,
Yeah.
was he trying to like kill the gay out of him? I'm not sure. Anyway, he would say, I'm not gay. Right. Okay. But anyway, he too was not labeled a serial killer even after he confessed. Because he was proud of what he did. He had no remorse, no care in the world. He just hated them.
If he wasn't considered a serial killer, what did they just...
He killed.
Oh my God. Okay. Silly me. I'm sorry.
Killer of many. I don't know.
Killer of many, but not a serial killer.
Right.
Okay. Got
it. Just, one too many. I don't know. I don't know what they did. So I guess because he had a reason, he wasn't, right? He hated gay people. You're cool. All right. Anyway, so these killings, like, again, were not front page news. This was not the story of the hour during 2005 at all. Police were not investigating these murders like they would have others. You know, it just didn't happen. They were like, gay people. So it wasn't, so like at this point you can kind of see to the police, if you're poor, if you were indigenous, if you were gay, if you were a woman, you're basically screwed, right?
Yeah.
So like it doesn't seem to matter if you're dying in large numbers, which is really sad. So it wasn't until little abuelitas, which is how you say grandmothers in Spanish. You're learning some Spanish. Hey? It wasn't until little abuelitas, grandmothers, started to drop off like flies that the police decided they should form the first ever, like I said, in Mexican history anyway, serial killer investigative team. The police, I'm sorry, there's lots of noise going on behind me. The police also requested collaboration from the French police under the belief...
Odd choice. I'm sorry.
I'm going to explain why. Under the belief that the killer was similar to homosexual serial killer Thierry Paulin, also known as the Monster of Montmartre. Montmartre. I just butchered that pronunciation. Now, this guy killed 21 elderly women by the time he died at 24.
Oh my God.
But he was much more evil about it. He didn't just strangle, he'd suffocate them as well. He even made a victim drink liquid Drano. That's terrible. He was a young gay man who was a drag performer, and he used to steal money to do drugs and live his life. That's what he did. It was after being arrested for theft that he found out that he was HIV positive. And since he knew, because he was very sick at this point.
Yeah.
So since he knew that he would be dying soon, he started to kill these women and rob them and use their credit cards to throw parties or do loads of drugs and just live his best life.
Jesus.
Yeah. So those investigators that caught the monster of Montmartre, that was terrible, taught about their case, only like heightening the feeling from the police that, oh yeah, El Mataviejitas, or the killer of old ladies, is a gay man dressed as a woman. Because the witnesses that were coming forward in all of these cases said that they saw a very tall, muscular looking woman leaving the scenes. Short hair, muscular, dressed as a nurse. Sometimes they said, whatever.
Yeah.
But basically would say it's a woman who's very masculine looking.
Okay.
So they were like, oh, it's a transvestite, like instantaneously.
Yeah.
Right. And so despite hearing from dozens of witnesses who would see a woman fleeing a scene dressed as a nurse, the Mexican authorities would ignore them, every single one of them.
Naturally.
So when they had this training from the French police, they were like, it's a guy in drag. That's what it is, right? So
I wish you guys could see the hand motions that are happening right now.
it's sachet chante, all right? So they just completely ignored these people. They were like, no,
legit.
I mean,
That's what they do here.
okay. So the police ignored their statements and they kept pursuing a man in a woman's clothes. They just completely would refuse to believe that it could be a woman. It got to the point where the police decided to arrest and round up all of the trans sex workers.
Oh my God.
To bring them in for questioning. So one might ask, like, what trans sex workers do you see that are huge, muscular, more masculine looking? Like, that, it just didn't even make sense. And what would they be doing in an old lady's house? Like, why would an old lady invite them into their house?
Yeah.
For what? Like, they're not hiring them. Like, I don't know. Just the whole thing makes no sense. So that, of course, pissed off the LGBTQIA plus community, and, you know, nothing, there was no fingerprints. There was nothing, like, all of these sex workers got let off. Every single one of them. They were just like, well, that was going down the wrong alley, you know, like, so they just, but still, they would not believe that it was a woman. They were still looking for this man who dressed like a woman. Looked like a woman, dressed like a woman. I don't know. Anyway, the sketches. And there were upwards of 60 sketches of this person.
That were all different?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay,
they were all different. So there were upwards of 60 police sketches made of the killer. Well, they aren't all fairly masculine, but they were all women. And then some of them were super masculine.
Oh.
So they just kind of ran the gamut. So they kind of felt like, well, maybe there's more than one.
Like, I mean, with 60 different sketches, you'd have to think there was.
You'd think that. I think I should go work in homicide in Mexico City. Okay. So short hair, no makeup, masculine. But no way could a woman have done any of these awful things. It's just, that's how they're thinking.
Yeah.
Only a man could have done these things. So, I mean, these little ladies were being strangled from anything from stethoscopes to phone cords, pantyhose, electrical cords, really anything. I mean, whatever was available.
Yeah.
A woman couldn't have done that because women are too petite and weak, I guess. So this comes from Criminal Minds Wiki. It's a long quote. Okay. So by November 5th, 2003, police had enough evidence and witness testimonies to believe that a serial killer was involved and that it was a tall person with rough features who was posing as a city council nurse or social worker to gain the victim's trust. However, the police was reluctant to make this public because Mataviejitas had become a weapon in the fight between Mexico's federal government, controlled by PAN, and the capital city's council, controlled by PRD, more so after Mayor Andrés Manuel López Obrador, maybe you recognize that name, became the PRD candidate for the 2006 Mexican presidential election. PAN attacked López Obrador, claiming that violent crime had increased during his term, and his recently implemented public health care plan for residents over 70 years of age was blamed for the killings because, in their opinion, the murderer was a nurse getting into the homes, right? Mm-hmm. So PRD, in turn, denied that the Mataviejitas existed and accused the PAN-related media of sensationalism. In December, the police released a wanted poster with 2 eyewitness sketches of the Mataviejitas, one more feminine and another more masculine looking, but the sketches were labeled as persons of interest only.
How do you narrow it down from 60 to 2? Like, how do you know which 2?
100%. So there was no mention of their clothing. Because right now, what the police are being told is that it's a nurse, but they're also being told that there's a woman in dressed up. There's a man looking like he's dressed up as a woman, right? Or a very masculine woman dressed up as a nurse. Right. So there's no mention of clothing at this point, nothing. Just that here's these persons of interest. Anyway, and it wasn't until the following year, 2006, that the police finally admitted to the existence of a serial killer. The killing of 82-year-old Carmen Camila Gonzalez Miguel on September 28, 2005, an upper-class woman and the mother of prominent Mexican criminologist Luis Rafael Moreno Gonzalez, spurred the police into launching a special operation under the name Operación Parques y Jardines, or Operation Parks and Gardens. Sounds so much better in Spanish.
It sounds pretty boring in English.
I know. Boom, boom, boom. Like, not very creative either, right? Officer patrols in the areas where the killer was active increased. So they thought that she was meeting, or they were meeting, old ladies in the parks and gardens, and then getting their trust and then going home with them. So sex workers, daylight, Yeah. Makes sense. So stupid. So they were active in those areas. They passed out pamphlets advising the elderly to be wary of strangers, along with news sketches. And the police even paid elderly women to act as bait in the park areas.
It's funny, but it's not.
So in a move that was heavily criticized, police also announced that they were looking for a homosexual man, a transvestite or transgendered, and arrested 49 transvestite prostitutes who were all released when their prints didn't match any of those that were collected at the crime scenes. So they knew, oh shit, we need help now. And we need to find this dude super quickly. And so
I love that they're still focused on a dude.
I know, the whole time. And so the police were still calling the killer El Mataviejitas, positive they were chasing. And this is what they said. It was a brilliant, charming man, someone similar to Ted Bundy, with his ability to charm his way into the homes of these single women. Remember that.
Okay.
All right. But what they weren't expecting, because dun, 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 was that on January 25th, 2006, a tenant in the home of Ana Maria de los Reyes Alfaro, 84, would see a woman flee his landlady's apartment. He found her dead, strangled with a stethoscope apparently, and he called the police and chased after the woman. Luckily, the police just happened to be nearby, and they were and apprehended 48-year-old Juana Barraza. She confessed to the killing of Maria. She confessed, but no one else. According to police, they had found, I'm going to do like a whole lot of quotations that you guys at home cannot see. But according to the police, they found her fingerprints, partial anyway, at least 11 different crime scenes. Those fingerprints had been run through the database, but got no hits. They would even check the morgues because in October of the previous year, the killings had just stopped. So they thought maybe the killer had killed himself. Yeah. They tried to check the morgues. No luck. So it was truly just good luck and a coincidence that the police were so close by the last victim that they were there, and there was a witness to pinpoint who was in the apartment. The police, Avi, downplayed the luck part, right? Praising its investigators. They didn't do anything. But yeah, they were still looking for a man. So what? This was luck, 100%. Yeah. So when Juana Barraza went into their custody, they had to change the narrative. It was said that Juana, that when she was taken into custody, she said this, she was taken into custody and the police, without her lawyer present, handed her a folder with papers in it and several other objects to just hold. Can you just hold this for a second? You know, a stethoscope, a pair of pantyhose.
Nothing suspicious about this.
Folder. Right. Nothing suspicious. I mean, Nothing suspicious. So, well, when you know it, they said they found her fingerprints at the scene of all of these other crimes. Isn't that something?
So weird.
God, I know.
They're such good investigators.
He scared me there. And while the reports were that there was a woman dressed as a nurse, now these nurse uniforms were blue, by the way. Blue.
Okay.
So while the reports were that this woman was dressed as a nurse in blue, the eyewitnesses would mostly say that the woman they saw was in red. And when they arrested Juana, she was in red, not blue. So then they paraded her out in front of the media. I mean, it was basically like as soon as they apprehended her, she was in front of the media. Like there was no, I don't even know that she was booked first.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
They paraded her out and they put her right next to this plasticine bust of the suspect based on these 60 plus
Yeah.
sketches.
Yeah.
One more thing about the sketches, for the most part, had her as a very dark-skinned woman.
Did she even match any of these sketches at all?
I mean, maybe
other than being alive?
But I mean, one, maybe. Like, it didn't look, I mean, I looked at probably 10 and I'm like, oh, that's a stretch. Like, that's just a stretch. But so they prayed her out in front of this plasticine bust that was supposed to be a man. They added some hair and it became a woman, and then they wrapped it in red so it looked like she was wearing the red sweater the whole time. So she was in a red sweater and the bust was in red. See? It matches. And she's just...
I love this investigative team, and it's great. I feel like I could be an investigator today. Like I just...
Don't doubt yourself. You know what? This is the whole point of the show.
Yeah.
Just believe in yourself.
Yeah. Don't panic, according to my fortune cookie. Don't panic. Don't doubt yourself. You got this.
You got this. So this is it's ridiculous, isn't it? The whole thing. It's ridiculous.
The whole
thing is how do we not all know who Juana Barraza is? Like this is oh gosh.
What was that about? I almost died by a cat just now. What was that even about?
I don't know. I don't know. He's gonna set this place on fire. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so plasticine, they made a bust, they wrapped it in a red scarf and went, see? Looks just like her, right? Now, whether the police or Juana were telling the truth, maybe the truth is like really somewhere in the middle, right? Sure. I mean, you can't 100%. She definitely killed
the one.
Yeah. Maybe more. We don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's somewhere in the middle.
Got it.
Right.
She could have killed one, or she could have killed 49.
I don't think she killed the 49.
Yeah.
And this is what the last podcast on the left guys, they covered this and they just did an awesome job. But what they said was like, this might be the first story we're telling where we don't really believe that she did all of these things. Like there's a serial killer and you want to believe like, well, the police did it right, but I don't think they did it all right here. So anyway, it wouldn't be the first time someone was framed for murder, right?
Yeah.
And I told you at the beginning or told you earlier about all the things between the two political parties, the PRD, right in the pan. And, there was a presidential election coming up and the whole thing, right? Anyway, but the police also said that although Barraza was illiterate, found a trophy room with the newspaper clippings of the murderers, along with objects taken from the victims, and an altar to Jesus Malverde and Santa Muerte, two folk saints commonly venerated by Mexican criminals. Now, Nuestra Señora de la Santa Muerte, Spanish for Our Lady of Holy Death, often shortened to Santa Muerte, is like a cult image now. It's a female deity and folk saint in folk Catholicism and Mexican neo-paganism. A personification of death, she is associated with healing, protection, and safe delivery to the afterlife by her devotees. Despite condemnation by leaders of the Catholic Church and more recently evangelical movements, her following has become increasingly prominent since the turn of the 21st century. So they used to say it was a saint that only criminals prayed to, but now she's just become like just very common. There's songs about her and pictures and people. I mean, it's not as like weird, you know, it's just not as weird now. So anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Juana. Oh, and Lopez Obrador, he's president now of Mexico. Juana Barraza was born in December of 1957. Fuzzy numbers. I'm going to say that. She was actually born in a rural area north of Mexico City to an 18-year-old alcoholic sex worker named Justa Samperio and a dad named Trinidad. It's a good name. Her mother was incredibly abusive. She would beat Juana so badly she would be left in a pool of blood, according to Juana. Juana's mother had more children and honestly just didn't give two shits about any of them. Didn't care about them or their well-being. Just could not have cared less about them. She was just not well on so many levels. Juana was made to clean the house and had to sometimes go dumpster diving to get food to feed her and her siblings. So she did not attend school. So when I say she's illiterate, she's truly illiterate. She knew the letters of her name, and that's it. Her dad, Trinidad, was arrested for all sorts of crimes. He told the police that he had slept with so many women and fathered so many different kids that he stopped counting after his 32nd child was born.
Oh my God, where is Kevin?
She's going to press that for about 5 minutes.
32 children.
Stopped counting.
One sounds horrifying to me. 32.
Stopped counting at 32. I don't know.
Stressing out.
That's what stresses her out. Her mother would pimp out Juana for alcohol and eventually giving Juana away to an alcoholic for the low bargain price. Guess how much?
A bottle of liquor? I don't know.
3 beers.
Oh, okay. I overshot that.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I was trying to have...
You upped the price. Yeah. You upped the price. So 3 beers when Juana was just 13 years old. Oh. When she went to the man's house, she expected to be picked up and saved, but no one came. And he took Juana into his room, beat her, tied her to his bed, and raped her. She was like this for a week before she was found by the man's mother. She protested. He told her to shut up, that Juana was given to him by her mother, and that she could use her as a housemaid as well. So that shut her up.
So my question is, I'm not trying to downplay, but was there ever any evidence that these things happen, or are these all her personal accounts? I'm just asking. I'm not accusing her. I'm just asking. So I understand.
Her stepdad, who she actually really liked, corroborated that, and her uncles corroborated that because, I'll say in a second. So he told his mother to use her as a housemaid, and she was happy with that. His father found out, raised holy hell. This man beat his own father to a bloody pulp, and no more protest happened after that. Juana, for 5 years, was made to clean their home. She was repeatedly raped and would get pregnant, have an abortion, or miscarriage. She did have one child. Continually raped, another pregnancy, another abortion. And it was just a cycle that would repeat. And it wasn't until Juana was nearly 18, about 18, that's fuzzy numbers as well, that her stepdad or her uncles found her, telling her that her mom had told everyone that Juana had left willingly, that she had wanted to start a life with a new man that she had fallen in love with. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So they all knew. They just
Yeah.
couldn't find her. So they rescued her. Now, who actually saved her is a little bit up for debate. I think it was either the dad or the stepdad or the uncles. That has not been able to be nailed down. There's just not. I mean, she's never been able to write anything down, and you know, she couldn't know how to read her own birthday. Yeah. So we think it's December of 1957. That's about as much as we got. Juana's mom, however, would soon die of alcoholism, and she died at the ripe old age of 38. And so Juana was about 20. Juana felt zero sadness or grief for the death of her mother. She would say she felt nothing, and I don't blame her.
Yeah.
So Juana never learned to read or write, had a string of failed marriages to men who were totally abusive, having 4 kids total, but her oldest son was beaten to death when he was 12 in front of her during a mugging. I can't even imagine, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the police description of El Mataviejitas, the killer of old ladies. Now, La Mataviejitas. They knew that the whole time. They were just joking. Cross-dressing or trans woman, charming, brilliant man, similar to Ted Bundy, who could fool their way into an old lady's house, no problem. Does that sound like our dear Juana Barraza?
Not at all. There's nothing about that.
Who they arrested was a very lower working class woman who could only read and write her own name. She was 5'9" and muscular, that's for sure. But did that really match the description the police were working off of? No. I mean, put a wig on her? No. Still no. Still no. Anyway, a fun fact about Juana Barraza had been a luchadora. So she was a wrestler in the very theatrical lucha libre, which is the Mexican style of wrestling. You know, with the masks and everything?
I know.
So her wrestling name was La Dama del Silencio, or the Lady of Silence. She said the name reflected her rather quiet and shy side. I'm going to call you La Dama del Silencio.
I was going to say, I think we should all just go by Spanish nicknames because they just sound so nice.
I know.
So pleasant. Even when they're not. Even when they're about death, they just sound so pleasant.
So La Dama de Silencio. But her costume did not match that name. Her costume was like on point. She was like the pink Power Ranger with like the pink and silver boots and like the geometrical shapes on the pink and silver outfit. And she was this buff woman. And then her mask was this huge ass pink and silver butterfly. It took up like her whole face. She was intense. Like what? So like that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Huge ass butterfly. It was awesome. Look it up. It'll be in the Facebook post. Anyway, but her wrestling career came to an end when she was 40. So she had actually started when she was rescued from her captor's house. She might have seen it before then, but she knew when she saw lucha libre and she saw female wrestlers that that's what she wanted to do. And so she started like studying under people. Yeah. And then so she had her first, I didn't write it down. She had a first name when she was like 17 or whatever, or 18. And so it was like the Little Firefly or something with some cool name. And then, and as she got better and better, she started to win some matches. She wasn't famous. Like she wasn't ever on TV. She didn't, but she was making a living. Yeah. Right. She could do it. Right.
Yeah.
So she'd been doing it. So 20 years, say. So when she was 40, she got so many bad injuries and back injuries while wrestling. So she had to stop. And so after the string of the failed marriages, after not being able to wrestle, she was left to be mother and father to these children and to support the family. Her neighbors, she paid off her house with money, you know. Her neighbors actually said that everybody was really kind and they were quiet. They were kind and quiet. She would sell food on the street sometimes, even after her, right after her stint as a luchadora, she was a promoter. And so that actually gave her more money.
Yeah.
And that helped her. That was what helped her pay off her house. So she was actually doing okay. Somewhere along the line that wasn't sustainable. And so she went to selling food on the street. She would sell popcorn at the what are they called? The matches. So she was just anything she could to provide. And they were like in one of the very poorest neighborhoods in Mexico City, but she tried her best, you know. She would work as a cleaning lady, which is a very common profession for women, for doing different housework for families, but business wasn't always great. It wasn't something you could count on all the time. Plus she had back issues. So that's hard work for if you're injured, you know? Business wasn't always great. So she took up breaking into homes and stealing from those she did housework for. And she had a partner in crime as well. And so this person, however, and I'm not going to talk too much about her because it's neither here nor there, but this person was actually picked up on suspicion of murdering a little old lady too.
Oh.
But she turned on Barraza when Barraza got caught, and this lady got let off.
Wow.
Yeah. So not shady, not sus. Do you see all the little things that are kind of happening where you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't all her.
Yeah.
Right. So this other woman was being questioned. Anyway. So now this is where the story gets a little murky, and I'm not saying she didn't kill someone. Like I said, she admitted to at least the one, and there may be more, 100%. But if you remember what I said earlier about the mayor, and by the way, he's now the current president of Mexico, trying to make sure to wrap this thing up because like it was making him look bad. Remember that? Well, the police needed her to be the serial killer. And so the thing is, there were two other people, not just her stealing partner in crime. There were two other people who were arrested who were also called Los Mataviejitas. They also called them that.
They worked with her, or they were just two separate people?
They were two separate people who were breaking into. So you have two people who don't look like Juana Barraza, probably accounting for why some of those sketches did not resemble her.
Yeah.
Like some of them had like long hair and some of them had like slicked back, did not resemble her. But they were also arrested and went to jail for the killing of old women. But they didn't count them as the Mataviejitas.
Got it.
Which is so ridiculous. Anyway, Juana confessed to the one, but they charged her with 16. And she was in prison for 11. Because that's what they found the prints on.
Convenient. The
conveniently placed prints on said articles that she could not read. I guarantee you she did not have a newspaper subscription. Hold on. So the two other people that got arrested, little to no fanfare, blah. Juana said when she was arrested, she admitted to the one. She was not going to take that away from it, but that she would appeal the other 15. Because again, they said they found some partial prints at least 11 places, but she was charged in 16 and then honestly blamed for the rest of the 30-something deaths.
Did she give a reason why she killed the one?
Yes. So she was at the woman's house and she overheard her on the phone saying, "What do you think? I'm made of money?" And when you're working for somebody and they say, "What do you think? I'm made of money?" You're probably like, I hope she is going to pay me.
Oh, yeah.
So when Juana finishes up her work, she asks to be paid, not just for the work she did then, but also for the previous week she was not paid for. The woman said, "You have to wait. I can't pay you now." So there was some words. Juana got so mad, she straight up did a wrestling move and threw the woman who hit a wall or hit a table, and she died. So she ran out of the house, and her telling, she confessed to the cops. Like, they didn't have to stop her.
Yeah.
She was running out to tell on herself.
Yeah.
And she says that she told the cops, "Something's wrong. I got into it with the lady I'm working for, and I think I killed her." And so she waited for 45 minutes while they interviewed the man that saw her. So he thinks he ran them down, but they were already right there because she found them and told them.
Right.
In her telling of the story. But they talked to him for 45 minutes and got him to say that he saw her doing more things, saw her looking at more, like he had to help the police nail her for more crimes.
Got it.
Yeah. So it really, like, that's why I'm like, I don't want to talk about all the murders because I don't really know that she did them all.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, my God, there were 460 women who died in the Ciudad Juarez and 76 of them were in a mass grave. Jesus Christ. Like, I gotta believe.
And there were 60 different sketches. So.
I gotta believe that the police were probably not on the up and up when it comes to this crime. Like, it just doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, God.
And technically she had a reason, so she wouldn't have been a serial killer.
But if you can, she hated her mom. Yeah, she was pissed off. She
didn't get paid.
100. My mind just blew. You just blew my mind.
I'm sorry.
Dude.
I just derailed the whole. I should be a lawyer.
You should.
Or the judge. Whatever.
We've been underestimating ourselves.
I know. We should contact the authorities in Mexico right away.
Okay, so she's charged with 11. Yes. Charged with 11. She goes to prison, and they sentence her to 759 years.
Seems excessive, but okay.
But in Mexico, you do like 50. So she's probably going to spend the rest of her life in prison because then she would be 90 and it's probably not going to happen for her. But the police closed all of the other cases. 30 plus of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Got
it. Well, our work here is done. No problem. I mean, like, if you were the family members of all of those 30 other people, would you be like, no, hello, no, this is not cool.
Yeah.
I would be pissed.
Yeah.
I would be pissed. I just don't understand it. Anyway, but as I was tried in the spring of 2008, the prosecution alleging she had been responsible for the more than 40 deaths. She admitted to one. And the police told her motive was lingering resentment regarding her own mother's treatment of her, that these old ladies reminded her of her mother. But then why were they old? Because she died. Right. So, see, mira, no es justo. It's not justice. All right. Okay. So on the 31st of March, she was found guilty on 16 charges of murder and aggravated burglary, including 11 separate counts of murder. She was sentenced to 759 years in prison. Sentences imposed in Mexican courts are generally served concurrently, but the maximum sentence under Mexican law is 60 years. She will most likely just serve the full sentence in prison. Juana Barraza has made the most of her time in prison by working as a gym instructor and selling tacos. Oh. She can get money for that to help support her family. According to news reports, Juana also got married and divorced while serving her sentence. So this comes from El País. After the sentence, Mataviejitas, or Little Old Lady Killer, disappeared from public view. Her name resurfaced in 2015 when she married another inmate, an extremely dangerous man who courted her for a long time through letters. The wedding, organized by a government program, was given massive publicity and treated like a great love story. A year later, the truth came out. They had never set eyes on each other before their wedding day, and once wed, the relationship did not work. Quote, once we saw each other, the love vanished.
Wow. Jesus. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
She just needs to not be married. Mataviejitas Barraza told a deputy during their year-long marriage they only saw each other 3 times, totaling 40 minutes. That was their marriage. Juana Barraza asked for divorce. She laughs now when she thinks about it. Tacos from Mondays to Wednesdays is more her thing. Love is for other people.
Amen, sister.
That's going to be like on my tombstone. No, I'm just kidding. So now she is, wait for it. She's helping the older ladies in prison with their walking every day.
Oh,
the irony.
That's a big turnaround.
I mean, if that isn't some crazy ass justice, I don't know what is. What I understand though is that Juana actually asked for that job herself, and she says
and they gave it to her, thinking that she killed 49 of them. Like, she seems like the best candidate for this, really. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, you're gonna put the lady that you think killed 49 elderly women in charge of walking the elderly women? I don't know.
And she gets mad at them when they're like, I don't want to walk. And I'm like, oh, don't let her get mad at them. Like, and they actually say that they want her to get mad. Oh my God. Do you know what she did? Right. Oh, the irony is just too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of a long story, but I highly recommend Susana Vargas Cervantes' book, The Little Old Lady Killer. If you're interested, her work is awesome because she really does kind of get into the, she calls it Mexicanidad of it all, like how that these women, the police sort of treated this suspect as a darker skinned person and not a lighter skinned person, and it's very interesting. And then obviously the whole trans masculine, and so when they caught her, actually they were like, well, she's a luchadora, of course she's a killer.
Of course.
I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like they kind of used her stature against her. Like, she's this muscular, she's 5'9". She's so tall for Mexican.
Yeah. Like,
really tall. And so, like, that's, they just were like, well, see, she looks like one. And so they got it wrong. They couldn't admit to it. So they had her spin the tale that they were right all along.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is my story.
That was a good story.
Crazy, right?
It is crazy.
Anyway.
Super crazy.
So that's it.
Well, do you want to tell people what's happening next week?
Well, next week we have a guest, and I guess I don't really want to say anything more than that.
Well, yeah. I won't be doing this story.
She will in next week, though, y'all.
Maybe, perhaps. We'll see what life brings.
Stop it. Stop it.
As
Sarah would say, stop it.
Oh, man.
I know. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. Well, we don't have a question of the week, but thank you for still listening to us. If you still do listen to us, we're very thankful. I think we have like 2 listeners left. But we appreciate all of your comments on our Facebook posts, especially when something traumatic happens.
Because we seem to have a lot of that lately. Yeah. So thank you.
And you guys are very, like, the personal messages, and you guys that reach out to us, like, personally, not just through the page. It really means a lot. So thank you.
We love you.
We do love you guys so much.
Until next week, drink good beer.
Yes.
Be kind to one another. We'll see you then.
Bye.